Hey, so we're watching from halfway around the world, Coley, and you're obviously blessed to get that assignment and be there. And we're watching with a ton of national pride back here stateside. So is there sort of like a trickle down effect that you're seeing with all of the success and all of the talk about whether it be Simone Biles or the U.S. rugby team medaling for the first time ever? Is there a certain level of like, I'm him for you walking around into these different venues and around the streets of Paris as an American journalist rocking the red, white, and blue, holding the ESPN mic flag up?
No, there's none of that for me because I'm just here to do my job, and that's just to tell their story. But internally it is, and even amongst my friends, I've had so many friends who've been following me on Instagram and Twitter, even or X or whatever. And just kind of seeing my posts throughout the city, seeing some of the things that I've shared in terms of the events that I've been to, the venues I've been to. One of the coolest venues that I've actually been part of seeing and witnessing since I've been here is just the beach volleyball and sitting in the stands across from
Awesome.
the Eiffel Tower, having the beach volleyball court there, the Eiffel Tower at night across from you. I mean, it's just so special. So my friends are the ones that are like, oh my God, what's going on? What you saw rugby sevens do that, pull off this incredible win. How cool are you? That's the moment when I feel like, okay, yeah, I'm him. Walking around the streets though, no, I'm blending in. I'm feeling just like I'm another Parisian. In fact, at this point, I might just have to move here because I'm starting to get really, really comfortable. I can't speak French yet, but I'm starting to feel really comfortable being here.
I was gonna say,
Oh, he
speaking
said that
French
they were in
feels
like
like
a
it would be
dope
important.
area.
Yeah. Feels like it would be
Yeah.
important. Let's get him a beret, Gary, and then he'll really be French,
He's
right? Like
gonna
we
be
don't
there
believe
for the
what you
week.
say.
And Elle, before you join this call, I just want to point out, Coley, what are the three restaurants that you pointed out that you are literally near and a frequent visitor to?
Yeah, I'm like, there's an Indian restaurant across the
Uh-huh.
street, a Portuguese restaurant down the way. There's a
Uh-huh.
Peruvian place nearby. There's a an Armenian place nearby. Yeah,
And
that's
I ask you to bring that up because I told Elle when I went to Paris last year, the food was not good. And Elle was like, Gary, you are tripping. But Coley, unprovoked, was like, these four restaurants have been the spot, Elle. And I'm like, you know what? He didn't mention a French restaurant. So Coley's like subliminally got my back. And that's what I appreciate.
Yeah. I will say this though. The not so good restaurants are kind of it's kind of like New York. It's kind of in the touristy areas of Paris.
Okay.
The better restaurants, you kind of have to venture out a little bit. And where I am currently, I'm a little ventured out. So
I'm
that's
not
part of
taking culinary advice from a guy that eats beanie weenies, first of all. Full stop. You better stop.
They got
Absolutely not.
protein.
But I
I
love
don't do that. So
that's Gary. Gary, I'm
I,
talking to Gary. Coley, I love that you mentioned sort of, all of the stuff that's already happened. But the thing that's amazing about the Olympics is that we sort of start with one of the big events with gymnastics and swimming. And then we pave way for, well, track, which is it's time to shine. And you're there covering track for us. And I'm just wondering, what is the single biggest, in your opinion, storyline as we start getting closer and closer to track, which is coming?
Yeah, it's coming literally this weekend. And the biggest storyline, at least stateside, has to do with Sha'Carri Richardson making her Olympics debut. We know what happened 3 years ago with Sha'Carri qualifying for the Olympics, but then having that subsequent failed test for marijuana at the US trials. And so that invalidated her for Tokyo. That was 3 years ago. A lot has happened since. We actually have a story on ESPN.com about her timeline, the journey, the redemption tour that you could call it, that she's gone through in those 3 years since. And it has included having her high school track named after her in Dallas, Texas. It has included re-signing a massive deal with Nike that is quite possibly, it's certainly a deal that puts her in the conversation for being one of the highest paid track stars, period. And also it includes her winning the world championships last year in the 100 meters in Budapest, Hungary. She had a time of 10.65 seconds, which is a personal best. That's the time that's kind of the mark that she's chasing in the 100. She hasn't quite come. She hasn't quite gotten there since, but she has been putting up great numbers since then. The U.S. trials, she ran a 10.71 to win the U.S. trials to get here to Paris. So we'll get a chance to see what she does in the 100. She did not qualify in the 200, so she'll just run the 100, and then also should participate in the 4x1 relay. And then the other big storyline is Noah Lyles. What will he do? A lot of conversation about him around him the last few days about him saying, "Hey, I'm the world's fastest man." Technically, he's right because the reigning world champion is considered the world's fastest man. He won the 100 at World Championships exactly a year ago, last August. So maybe he is. But the big debate is right now he doesn't have the fastest time in the world this year. That belongs to Jamaica's Kashane Thompson. And Kashane ran a 9.77 in the 100 just a few weeks ago. That's the mark that Noah Lyles is chasing. If he can surpass that, or at least just surpass Kashane, he will certainly be able to say that he's the fastest man in the world here at these Olympics.
Coley, it's so sweet, dude, that you get to be a part of this. Like my bucket list item is watching a 100-meter final at the Olympics. It's a 9 seconds. I have a 9 second attention span. So like seeing that in person for you at the tail end of this Olympic Games, man, that's going to be such a cool moment. That's obviously the goings on inside the track and field stadium with some of our notable runners and track and field athletes. What's been the noise? Have we been blowing it out of proportion here stateside, and what we've been reading as it relates to like how dirty the Seine really is? We're seeing these triathletes puking after the men and women ran their legs, or swam their legs rather, in the river yesterday. So that's one question I had. And then additionally, is it true that they don't have AC for like Olympic Village? Like that's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
I'll answer that one first. I had a chance to go up to the Olympic Village a couple days before the games and tour, just kind of walked around on my own. No one really had to hold my hand. It was just like, hey, free for all, go do you. Um, and yes, the dorms don't have AC. The reason is because Paris has tried to make these games the sustainable games. They're trying to make them as green as possible and keep inside temperatures at a certain degree. I've got this cup right here. I have to, well, it's blurred, I guess, but it's actually Coke on here. So maybe it's good I'm turning around. But anyway, I've got this cup right here. You have to like fill up water when you're at a venue, and you've got to bring those glasses back because they're not just giving you a cup that gets thrown away. So they're really trying to make this a green game. So that's the main reason why there's no AC. But a lot of countries, knowing that going in, they purchased portable units. They brought portable units for their athletes for those dorms. A lot of the U.S. athletes actually have those and have been able to benefit from it, but it still hasn't been enough for some of them. And so we've seen a lot of athletes who've actually left the Olympic Village from the States.
Straight up.
And that's part of the reason why. In terms of the river, I can't speak to how clean or dirty it is. I just know we got a lot of rain, obviously, the night of the opening ceremonies, and some the morning after, actually all day the day after the ceremonies. We got a little bit of rain even this morning, and every time it rains, just because of the way this city is constructed, it's a very old city, there is runoff into the river, and that was the issue with the triathlon, why they kept delaying it, because they kept finding more and more bacteria. Plus, we kind of had a little bit of an issue a couple of weeks ago when some fans decided to do their business off the side of the river because they knew that the mayor would be swimming in it. So I think so. There's still some of that in the river as well. So that all being said, I'm not trying to touch it. I'm not going anywhere near the river in terms of the actual water. I'm just crossing the bridges, enjoying the scene, and I think a lot of the tourists who are in town are doing the exact same thing.
I just kept
Facts. Hey,
thinking,
Elle, I'm gonna tell you
imagine
right
trying,
now.
yeah,
Elle, you think that LeBron James is sleeping with no AC? Not a shot in hell. You think
no.
Kevin Durant is sleeping with no AC at 79 degrees? Hell no.
No, that's never happening. I kept watching that triathlon thinking that's like asking athletes to swim in the Hudson. Like, ew,
Yes.
they would never. It's like let's dodge the bodies while we get there. I do want to ask you a question though before we go, Coley, because every Olympics there's feels like there's some big breakout star, and probably I would say it's the Steve Neteronzak kid from the gymnastics, right? And what he did on pommel horse. I think I said his name right. But I got to be honest, and you would know this because you covered the rugby sevens. Is Ilona Maher, is she the breakout star of the Olympics so far?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, she was the viral star after what, day 2 or day 3 when she had that stiff arm. And in fact, I was at that championship, or not championship, that bronze medal match that the US had. And that was such an unreal ending. I still can't wrap my head around whatever I witnessed. I kind of had my head down like, okay, it looks like they might be getting ready to lose. And then all of a sudden, they have the equivalent for our non-rugby sports fans out there. It was the equivalent of having a kick return with like 2 seconds left on the clock, a kick return all the way to the house as a walk-off to win the game. That's essentially what took place to close out that Rugby Sevens game. And it wasn't Ilona Maher who ended up having that score. It was actually Alex Cedric, and they call her Spiff. That's her nickname, a longtime nickname, Spiffy. That's kind of a play off on that. Anyway, Spiff just took off, and her in her mindset, she said after the game, it was thinking about Ilona Maher and trying to figure out how to channel some of her inside of herself. She's a much smaller woman than Ilona Maher is. And so she still said, look, I wanted to pay homage to my big girl. That's a verbatim quote from her. I want to pay homage to my big girl. I wanted to make sure that I could get down the field the same way that she probably would. And that was running through two defenders and then having green grass in front of her. And unreal. That was just a really cool way to end it. Technically, that score tied it. That try, as they call it in rugby, tied it. She had to kick the conversion kick for the actual win. And she actually told me pregame, she was told that she might have to kick at some point. She's not really a kicker on the team. She was told she might have to kick, so she tried. She had 2 attempts, shanked both of them badly, and was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Sure enough, she got out there, made her try when it mattered most, and Team USA won Rugby Sevens. It was unreal. I definitely think as a team, they are probably some of the breakout stars in the Olympics, and we saw it after the game, after the match. $4 million grant given to them, donation given to them by a woman who is really invested in women's sports, owns 3 women's soccer teams, including the Washington Spirit of the NWSL. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to Rugby Sevens for the U.S. In LA in 4 years.
I also just want to say, like, I'm so annoyed that Ilona Maher had to address while she's trying to compete at the Olympics at the highest level, that she had to talk about her body type because people were being so inflammatory and calling her fat and making comments about how she looked. And the idea that she had to spend a single second on that is absolutely disgusting to me. But I also think that it was such an important conversation and probably so uplifting for so many women who don't have these prototypical body types, who don't feel represented or seen when it comes to athletes who, are lean or look some certain kind of way, and to be able to redefine what beauty looks like all the time. Like, for her to own that and embrace that and address that, on the one side felt completely unnecessary. On the other side, I thought was really special as well. So she is amazing. She's my new girl. She's my girl. We're going to be homies. We're going to be friends. We love that. Coley Harvey, you've always been a homie. We appreciate you for joining us here, and have so much fun at the Olympics. We can't wait to check in with you, hopefully next week after track is underway.
But
That'd
don't
be
drink the
awesome.
water, Coley.
Yeah, well, the water's fine. Just don't get in the water.
Yeah.
Get in the water.
Just look at it.
Thank you.
Coley,
Thank you
thanks.
guys so much.
Peace out, Coley.